The Lance and its close brother, the Gun Lance, are Monster Hunter's closest thing to a tank class in the series. The Lance in particular carries a long thrusting rod and a large shield to accompany it. Shields on the Lance and Gun Lance are the strongest in the game, even without defensive boosting skills. Both of them can withstand a lot of punishment before it chips away at the hunter's health. Granted, of course, the hunter has enough stamina to block the attacks. While good at dealing elemental status and raw damage, the Lance can be quite awkward for new hunters because of the roll being replaced with a back hop. We're charging right into battle for this one, folks. Just be mindful not to crash into anything as we poke through the generations as we find out how the Lance became the immovable fortress it is today. The Lance, while primarily doing cutting damage, can also mimic impact damage. This doesn't mean that the Lance will start knocking out monsters with its pokes, but whenever the Lance hits a monster part, and if the impact damage will do more than cutting, the game will multiply that hit zone by 72%. If that final value is higher than cutting damage, the Lance will mimic the impact damage. If not, the Lance will retain its cutting damage value. Pressing up on the analog stick will do a forward stab. This can be comboed up to 3 times. While it has a long reach, this type of stab is not recommended to use on large monsters, as these stabs do less damage than the upward stabs. With a down input, the Lance stabs into the air. Like the previous stab combo, this can be done up to 3 times. These stabs may have the hunter be a bit closer to the monster, but this combo is much stronger than the forward stab. Hopping backwards or to the side after stabs will then restart, and then have the hunter be able to do the trio of pokes a little bit faster. The Lance's poke can also begin from an unsheath attack, and you can mix and match the 2 pokes. Pressing R3 will ready the Lance for a forward charge. With enough stamina and sharpness, the hunter can pierce through anything that stands in their way, even fellow hunters. If the hunter gets stuck on any monster part, they will continue stabbing that target until their stamina runs out, the monster moves, or the weapon sharpness gets too low. Pressing forward at any point will do a powerful finishing poke. Pressing and holding R1 will raise the shield. This can easily shrug off any attacks that may come in contact with it. Granted, the attack isn't above them, and the move is actually blockable. Standing still with the shield out will just pause the hunter's stamina gauge. When they move, this will recover it. So for monsters that attack relentlessly, the hunter will need to keep moving in critical moments to ensure that they have enough stamina to block. Attacking while behind the safety of the shield will do a quick forward poke. It's weak all things considered, but it is fast enough that the hunter will be easily protected after the poke. Pressing circle with weapon out will have the hunter hop backwards a short distance. The hunter can also do a fast side hop to the left or right after an attack. If you hold back on the analog stick and press circle after attacking, the hunter will do an extended hop backwards. The G-Rank expansion to the original Monster Hunter added some handy skills for the Lance. Auto Guard does as the skill says. Whenever possible, the hunter will automatically guard an incoming attack. Although it can be useful, it can also lock you into place if the hunter decides to start blocking a multi-hit attack. A go-to skill for Lancers that are going to rely on their shield strength. It is recommended to go for Guard +2 to make sure that the Lancer will stand their ground for most attacks. Late game attacks from monsters will still knock the hunter back a bit. For previously unblockable attacks like lasers from the local Gravios, the hunter will need Guard Up. This skill makes previously unblockable attacks blockable. In Freedom Unite, you can chain multiple hops. You can do a backwards hop up to 3 times. Sidestepping after an attack can also be done up to 3 times. Combining these together gave rise to a new playstyle known as Evade Lancing. Monster Hunter Freedom 2 added evasion skills that can improve back and side hops iframes. Freedom Unite introduced the Evade Distance skill, which extends the distance that a hunter can move while rolling or hopping. The lance is a pretty powerful weapon underwater. With a strong shield and long reach, it can aid in a lot of tricky battles in the early game. Pressing X plus A or tilting the Wiimote to the right when pressing A, the hunter will swing the lance in a half circle in front of them. At any point of a combo, the hunter can press R plus A to get into a counter animation. If any blockable attacks connects with the hunter, they will do a powerful counter. Holding the counter for longer will do more damage, but it's better used to shrug off an attack and restart the triple upwards poke. Countering attacks does take away stamina, and can be made more useful using guard skills. However, some attacks are just too heavy to counter properly. Pressing X and moving while shielding will do a shield advance. This will block any incoming attacks while moving forward. Pressing X afterwards will do a shield bash. This does KO damage, and the regular triple poke combos can be done afterwards. This advance is great for safely closing the gap, and guard skills also make this move able to advance through stronger attacks. If the attack is too strong, however, the hunter will be stopped in the middle of the advance. Portable 3rd and 3 Ultimate gave the lance its first nerf. Aside from some motion values being lowered, the lance can no longer counter after the 3rd poke. While a minor change, this had it so that committing to a 3rd poke was a bit more dangerous if there was an incoming attack that could not be evaded. Jumping off a ledge and pressing X will do a poke mid-air. You can also do a shield advance off a ledge to do a small hop. It is also possible to unsheath into a charge by pressing R plus X plus A. While charging, pressing B and moving the analog stick forward will make the hunter jump. This won't end the charging attack, and it still does damage while mid-air. Pressing X while jumping will end the charge with a mounting strike. Holding back on the analog stick and pressing X will do a powerful backward sweep. Generations introduced the controversial strong thrust 3rd stab. While more powerful than the regular 3rd poke, this new thrust really breaks the usual flow for those lancers that came from other titles. In GenU, Guild Style receives Tri's gift of countering after the 3rd poke. Aerial Style takes away the shield advance, and a backwards hop is changed to be a forward one. When hopping off a target, the lancer can press X mid-air in order to do 3 quick mounting strikes. Striker Style reverts the strong thrust back to the regular 3rd poke. The rest of the moves are reverted to how they were in 3 Ultimate. No sweeps, aerial charge, or back sweeps. The charging finisher, however, is incredibly powerful, being up to a 70 motion attack. In GenU, the counter has a guard point at the very start of the animation. It's signaled by the quick flash in front of the hunter. Adept Style removes the counter in favor of the Adept guard. When pressing R, the hunter will shake their shield in front of them. If an attack hits the shield during this, the hunter can do a powerful counter sweep with X. The attack can also be delayed for a short while to reposition the counter attack. After the Adept guard animation is over, however, the shield's guarding capabilities are downgraded a single level. It is also possible to unsheath into an Adept counter. The lance loses a counter, the sweep, and a turnaround finisher for the charge. Also note that the shield advance combo is changed to R plus A. Valor Style, while not in Valor mode, loses the counter, the sweep, and the charge attacks. Tapping Y and then X would do a cross swipe similar to Adept Style's counter. Pressing X plus A would do a charge forward, with a hop and its aerial strike and backward sweeps being able to be performed. While in Valor mode, pressing X plus A would do a mini shield advance that comes with a guard point. After this attack, the player can press X plus A again to charge, or R plus A to counter. The mini shield advance is pretty handy. It can be done in between combos. When activating this move, the hunter will dash forward using all their might, doing lots of KO damage with their shield and ending the attack with a powerful thrust. While dashing, the hunter is near invincible and can cover a lot of ground quickly. With each level, the damage does not increase, but the maximum distance that can be traveled will. In GenU, the recovery window is much faster. The hunter reels back their lance, giving every ounce of muscle they can into a single powerful poke. They are vulnerable during the charge, but once the attack is ready, a huge cone of destruction is sent forward. Just be mindful of any fellow hunters that are in the area, as they will be sent flying if they dare get too close to the cone. The hunter raises their shield, readying to absorb the next attack. The color of the lance will change depending on the strength that was transferred from the attack. Red gives a 10% boost, orange 20, and yellow gives 30. Note that tremors can stumble you out of this hunter art. This hunter art is not good for multi-hit attacks, as the hunter is vulnerable after countering once. Coating the shield in an odd green healing aura, the lance will heal the user and anyone nearby slightly after an attack is blocked or countered. With every level, the healing range is increased along with the art's duration, and the recovery is slightly stronger at level 3. This is good for the late game, as this deals with the chip damage that the hunters will suffer even with good guarding skills. The 5th generation introduced the ability for the lance to accelerate during their charge. This charge has 2 stages. The first stage is during the initial charge, and then after running for a bit, the hunter will start running a bit faster, doing an extra 2 motion with every poke now. This also affects the jumping attacks, and ends the finishing thrust doing a powerful 2-hit poke. If needed, the lance can also turn around using the analog stick. The hunter will automatically go over some terrain when charging, and can even hop off any runnable walls. The lance can also slightly hop forward, when holding the analog upwards and pressing X. When countering, pressing X will have the hunter step down, reinforcing the shield. This is the power guard. During this, the stamina gauge will rapidly deplete, but any attacks that connect will pause the stamina gauge. The power guard is stronger than the regular shield, but some attacks will still hurt a bit if the hunter does not have any guarding skills. Pressing triangle will do a leaping poke that hits 3 times. This is a good gap closer, that can continue into the regular 3 pokes. Pressing circle on the other hand will do a powerful counter thrust. Keep in mind that the power guard can protect the hunter, even from behind, so it could be a very handy tool in desperate situations. The guarded advance cannot be done to the left, right, or even behind. While a bit tough to time in World, Iceborne made this input a bit easier. Simply just put a different analog input during the advance. Pressing triangle after the advance will do a forward leaping poke. When sliding, the hunter can press triangle in order to hop into the air, doing a quick poke. Pressing R2 will put up the shield during the slide. Pressing a triangle plus circle will start up a charge. And an extra thing to note is that the lance can counter after the 3rd poke once again. With the slinger loaded, pressing L2 would have the hunter put up their shield and ready their slinger. Pressing R2 would do a guarded burst of whatever is loaded. Pressing R3 will bring out the claw shot. When latching onto a monster with a claw shot, pressing triangle would do a tenderizing poke. Pressing circle after L2 would do the counter claw. So instead of doing a counter poke when the attack connects, the hunter will then latch onto the monster. Offensive Guard grants the hunter an attack boost when guarding just before an attack makes contact with the shield. This executes pretty easily with the lance counters. At level 3, that gives an extra 15% attack boost for about 12 seconds. MhRise gave a considerable speed buff to the lance during its charging attack. This is fast enough to sometimes catch up with a monster as they are trying to flee from an area. In comparison to World, the charge attack can also double as it moves to traverse the map. Just note that it's difficult to turn while running quickly. It's slower than the hunter on a Palamute, and is generally not good with dealing with the more vertical maps. The White Sweep gain a charge attack in Rise. Simply just press and hold X plus A, and let it go once it's fully charged for a decent chunk of damage. This can be mixed in with the usual 3 attacks. You can speed up the charge if you have focus. Pressing ZL plus X will do a quick step forward that attaches a lancer with a wire bug string to the monster. The wire will turn red before it snaps. Pressing ZL and B will hop towards the monster. You can do a jumping thrust or a charge during a hop. The shield charge swaps out the regular charge for a guarded one. While it uses drastically more stamina and covers a lot less ground than the regular charge, the shield charge protects the hunter as they run forward. Making contact with a monster would do KO damage, and pressing X to end the charge would do a powerful finisher. Pressing A instead would do a simple poke. This version of the charge synergizes well with the Twin Vine, as you can apply the wire to the monster's head and repeatedly hop and do the guarded shield charge to knock out the monster. Anchor Rage is pretty much the enraged block from Generations. It uses a single wire bug and is pretty useful, but the buff that you get from the counter does not last for very long, and you are very vulnerable after the counter. This can be used after a regular counter to punish a second attack. Spiral Thrust on the other hand flings the hunter forward. If you put a direction during the first charge, you can do a second one. This move can be used as a guard point during the charge, and you will receive a temporary buff for successfully countering an attack. Unlike Anchor Rage, this move is affected by guard skills. So if the attack you're attempted to counter is too strong, it won't do a follow-up hit. Insta-block is essentially an adept guard. If the hunter gets hit while they are wiggling their shield in front of them, they will negate that hit, and following up with an X input will do a powerful cross sweep. The insta-block does not require any guarding skills and can go from a successful insta-block to another one instead of a cross sweep. Just like in Generations, it is possible to unsheath into an insta-block. The lance receives a considerable amount of buffs and changes in Sunbreak. Every move got a big motion value increase. The notable moves that got stronger are the Insta-Block's cross sweep counter and the charged wide sweep. The Insta-Block's counter window was also made much more forgiving in Sunbreak, and you could do a Silk Bind after a successful Insta-Block. Twin Vines' cost got reduced to a single wire bug from 2, and leaping to the monster has you aim towards where the kunai was inserted. Anchorage's buff lasts longer, and the amount of attack power increase is determined by the power value of the attack instead of the knockback. The shield tackle is done by pressing R plus X and it moves the hunter forward a short distance and does KO damage during the forward movement. Unlike the guard bash, which is more catered to set up a follow-up attack after blocking and or repositioning, the shield bash is a combo extender that has defensive properties. This move does require stamina to use. Skyward Thrust sends the lance straight upwards, dealing damage on the way up and down. This move is very powerful and uses only a single wire bug. Switching out Twin Vine for sheathing retreat will allow the hunter to fall back and sheath their weapon with a large fling backwards. The animation gives a good amount of iframes, and can be used for extremely dire situations, as the lance is often more safer with the weapon out. Title Update 5 for Sunbreak introduced a new rampage decoration called Guard Bash. Intended for the lance, the Guard Bash does a small explosion of KO damage whenever successfully blocking a monster's attack. It did not take players long to figure out that, in combination with a Gust Crab, the lance can essentially melt on any monster using this decoration. This temporarily made the lance the strongest weapon in Sunbreak, but sadly as of version 15.1, this bug was removed. The lance is the go-to weapon for those who want to be in an immovable fortress, or, depending on your playstyle, a very evasive and deadly accurate weapon that could pierce straight through a monster's heart. While I have grown comfortable as a guard lancer, my journey with this weapon has always been an awkward one. It wasn't until I had a playthrough of Monster Hunter Tri that I found out how much fun this weapon can be. The only flaw the lance has is its guarding capabilities are always undercut when it comes to late and endgame. I always feel like you're either forced to become an evade lancer, or be a lot more picky with what you counter in tougher fights. Aside from the heavier chip damage, there's always a move or two that would just straight up go through the guard that is honestly a bit infuriating at times. That being said, the lance is in a pretty good spot right now in Sunbreak. Even then, Striker Lance back in the day was a force to be reckoned with, and even before that, the lance was the strongest weapon in Monster Hunter 1. Well, until the next episode.